Welcome, fellow dwellers of the strange and unusual. Whenever a discussion pops up online about the film Coraline, there's an almost inevitable moment when someone mentions Tim Burton. In fact, it's such a common occurrence that it's become a full-blown misconception that Tim Burton directed Coraline. But this simply isn't true. The real director, and the creative mind who brought the film to life, was Henry Selick. Burton, in fact, had nothing to do with the production at all. No writing, no producing, no design work, zero involvement. So why is it that people instinctively think he had a hand in it? Recently, I was watching a video, which I highly recommend, where Burton is wandering through a video store in Paris, talking about the films he loves and the ones that inspired him. And in that video, the subject comes up: why so many people assume Coraline is a Tim Burton film. There are a couple of main reasons for this, and while they're separate, they do overlap, and both reasons ultimately tie back to The Nightmare Before Christmas. The first and biggest reason has to do with the marketing, and it's not even malicious. If you look at most physical copies of Coraline, you'll probably see this printed across the top, from the director of The Nightmare Before Christmas. Now, here's where the confusion sets in. A lot of people also believe Tim Burton directed The Nightmare Before Christmas, so when they see that line, they think, oh, well, if this is from the same director, that must mean Tim Burton made Coraline too. It's an easy leap to make. So then, the next logical question becomes, why do so many people think Tim Burton directed The Nightmare Before Christmas? Well, that's partly down to history, and partly down to marketing strategy. Tim Burton did come up with the main idea for the film. He wrote the original poem that inspired the story, and he designed many of the main characters, including the now iconic Jack Skellington. But he didn't direct it. That was also Henry Selick. However, in the early 90s, Burton was one of the biggest filmmakers in the world. He'd just come off a string of massive successes: Beetlejuice, Edward Scissorhands, Batman Returns, and so when Disney saw the opportunity, they decided to put his name front and center in the marketing to boost publicity and ticket sales. This is why you often hear and see it referred to as Tim Burton's The Nightmare Before Christmas. In reality, Henry Selick and his team were the ones who did the vast majority of the actual production work. That's the main factor, but there's another reason, and this one isn't really anyone's fault, not Burton's, and not the studio's. People naturally associate Tim Burton with gothic stories and with stop-motion animation because of his distinctive visual style and the kinds of films he's made over the years. And Henry Selick, as it happens, works in a very similar creative space. His imagery, tone, and inspirations often overlap with Burton's. So when Coraline is discovered by someone who is familiar with Burton's work, a stop-motion animated dark fantasy with gothic overtones, they connect the dots and assume Burton must have been behind it. So here's a question for you. Did you ever believe that Tim Burton was the creative force behind Coraline, or have you always been a smart cookie and known that it was, in fact, the work of Henry Selick and his incredibly talented team? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more deep dives into the world of Tim Burton. Thanks for watching.